This is Paris on Politics from Fox 32 Chicago.
Well, Chicago has produced the first American pope in the 2,000-year history of the Catholic Church, drawing a direct lineage from St. Peter to St. Barnabas or St. John of the Cross or St. Clement or whatever parish you hail from. Chicagoans, of course, reacted with glee and took the opportunity to create memes drawing on every possible cliche about the city. There's the body and blood of Christ reimagined as Malort and deep dish. Or how about this one? God bless everyone in the world except Green Bay. And last but not least, Pope Leo XIV is the first pope to know exactly what Dave Matthews did on August 8th, 2004. And who could resist the once-in-2 millennia opportunity to jump on the marketing bandwagon? Portillo's introduced the Leo sandwich, Italian beef baptized in gravy with what they're calling the holy trinity of peppers, sweet, hot, or a combo of both. Ha, ha, ha. Hey, folks, are we really this provincial? Is it always just about deep dish versus tavern, Malort, and da Bears? Look, in all seriousness, this is a fantastic coup for Chicago and the region's residents. We deserve to feel a sense of pride. Pope Leo wasn't just born here, he was made here, too, the product of Catholic schools and the Catholic Theological Union Graduate School of Divinity in Hyde Park. And he led the Augustinian order for the region that was based on the South Side. And hey, clearly he's a diehard White Sox fan, prompting the very funny and apropos jokes about caring for the downtrodden and the disadvantaged. There he is cheering on Bobby Jenks in the 2005 World Series. But, you know, Chicago can't completely claim him. Pope Leo did his most important work in Peru, leading the Augustinian mission, training other missionaries, and running 2 Peruvian churches. Pope Francis was clearly motivated by that work when he elevated him to an important role in the Vatican vetting and selecting the church's bishops. So it seems likely the Pope has other things on his mind: the poor, developing countries, war, and the future of the church, than worrying about the Packers. So let's walk with a small sense of pride, but maybe cool it a little on the over-the-top bluster. We can always save that for when the Bears win the 2026 Super Bowl.
Coming up on Paris on Politics.
To 21st century standards.
Just how safe is it to fly in the U.S.? Senator Tammy Duckworth weighs in after more FAA problems at Newark and other airports. Can he pull off the Hail Mary and keep the Bears on the lakefront? One-on-one with the Chicago Park District's new superintendent. A new book from the University of Chicago Crime Lab on the unexpected origins of gun violence and the promising decline in Chicago's homicide rate. And the city set a tourism record in 2024, but will Trump's tariffs keep visitors away this year?
This is Paris on Politics from Fox 32 Chicago.
Welcome to Paris on Politics, where we take you behind the headlines and beyond the spin. Several air traffic incidents, most recently in Denver, have travelers on edge and lawmakers questioning U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. Among those lawmakers, Illinois U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth. And Senator Tammy Duckworth joins us now. Senator Duckworth, great to see you as always. Point blank, is it safe to fly right now, given the recent air traffic incidents we've seen in Newark and now Denver?
It is safe to fly right now. The systems is so incredibly redundant, but we still have to make the significant investments to bring the technology up to 21st century standards. We're still operating our air traffic control system based on 1970s and in some places 1950s and 1960s technology. And so we have to make those investments. We started doing that last year when we passed the FAA authorization bill, but we need to make even more investments to make sure that those upgrades happen sooner than later.
And the current Transportation Secretary has blamed the previous administration. Is that a fair criticism?
This has been many decades in the making. I don't think Secretary Duffy should be blaming anyone. The first Trump administration kept promising a transportation bill and never made it happen. Every week was Transportation Week. That said, this administration, Secretary Duffy took charge and they fired thousands of FAA workers. Don't forget, these are the same officials who fired people that keep our aviation system safe. What we need to do now is stop finger pointing and let's go ahead and execute the bipartisan plan we put into effect last year, and then continue to make those investments necessary to make sure that we finish the job of upgrading our nation's air traffic control system.
When you say execute that bipartisan plan, it was passed. Is it not being put into action yet? And as I understand, there is more legislation to hire more air traffic controllers and train them. Where is that right now?
So last year what we did was we put a significant amount of money into upgrading the air traffic control system. That was just a year ago. It takes more than a year to upgrade and get the contracts out. We need to make sure that the Trump administration sends those dollars out. Remember, they froze funding for all sorts of federal programs, so they need to make sure that funding continues to flow so that we could actually pay the contractors who are going to be upgrading the system. We did also increase the workforce grant dollars by 6 times last year. So those first class of air traffic controllers are in the academy right now. They'll be graduating every year for the next several years, and that will allow us to basically graduate about 3,000 new air traffic controllers every year for the next 3 to 4 years, at which point we'll finally be catching up with the retirement of air traffic controllers. And the Trump administration, by the way, we're expecting that about 2,000 air traffic controllers are going to take the offer from the Trump administration to retire early. So that doesn't help the problem if you're actually trying to push people out the door before you even have new workers that will be in those control towers.
All right, speaking of airplanes, the Trump administration getting a lot of pushback on this proposal to receive a $400 million luxury airliner as a gift from the government of Qatar, which would eventually go into Trump's private use. Is this a bribe, and does it present a national security risk?
It is both a bribe and it is a national security risk, and it is a risk to taxpayers' pocketbooks. Accepting this luxury jet from a foreign government would be the mother of all bribes, and it would be unconstitutional and illegal on top of that. It would be blatantly and historically corrupt. Especially discussing at a time when they're slashing Medicaid coverage for millions of Americans, that they are going to allow a foreign government to buy U.S. influence in the U.S. international policy. Now, I did lead a letter this week, actually yesterday I sent a letter saying, what is it going to cost the taxpayers to harden this aircraft to the standards of an Air Force One? And I'm hearing from aviation experts that this $400 million aircraft, it will cost upwards of $1 billion to strip it down to the component parts necessary to make sure that we harden it so that it can survive attacks, so that it can survive intelligence gathering efforts by our enemies. So it's going to cost more money to accept this so-called gift than it is actually the 2 aircraft that are already in productions to be the new Air Force One.
Sounds like a very expensive proposition. Very quickly, Senator, will there be Republicans that push back on this in the Senate and in Congress?
I'm starting to hear some of my Republican colleagues question it. That's why I sent a letter out yesterday that's very detailed, and my letter was not partisan at all. My letter was just like, what is it going to cost? How are you going to go about doing this? It was to the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of the Air Force to just basically get the facts out there. And when you look at the facts and you realize it's going to cost more money to accept this gift than it is to just continue building the 2 aircraft we already have on order that we've already started to pay for, that hopefully my Republicans will step up and say, you know what, this is not a good idea.
All right, Senator Tammy Duckworth, Democrat of Illinois, thank you as always for talking with us. Well, summer's right on our front doorstep, which means Park District pools and beaches are getting ready to open. And the Chicago Park District has a new leader in charge of operating all of those places of recreation. Longtime 35th Ward Alderman Carlos Ramirez-Rosa, former alderman now. He's got a lot on his plate, not the least of which is perhaps keeping the Park District's most famous tenant, the Chicago Bears, from moving out. Carlos Ramirez-Rosa joins us now. Superintendent, I was about to call you Alderman. Superintendent Carlos Ramirez-Rosa, thanks for being here. All signs point to the Bears leaving for Arlington Heights. What's your pitch to keep them on the lakefront?
Well, the lakefront is a wonderful venue for a Beyonce concert, who's our tenant tonight, or for a World Championship game. It is just what a wonderful place, and it's centrally located near hotels. And we've had a wonderful relationship with the Chicago Bears going back decades. And so, keeping the Bears in the city of Chicago is a priority for the mayor of Chicago. It is a priority for the Chicago Park District. The Chicago Park District has been very proud to have a great relationship with the Chicago Bears going back decades. We have been mutually beneficial for the city of Chicago, generating tax revenue to help pay for all the things that taxpayers want to see, but also helping to generate revenue for the Chicago Park District, supporting programming for our kids, which helps offset the district's reliance on property taxes.
Are you saying a good relationship, although there was a bit of a testy letter that the Bears sent to the Park District saying, quote, the Park District has been both non-responsive and slow to correct issues, and the Bears have not provided an opportunity to participate in the decision-making regarding which capital improvements and routine maintenance are to be performed, talking about, you know, upgrading the stadium. You responded pretty quickly. Tell us your response.
Yeah, I mean, we were a little shocked to receive the letter. I had a very amicable conversation with Kevin Warren, president of the Chicago Bears, and then we received this letter. And we responded and we set the record straight. And the truth is that the Chicago Park District has overseen $73 million in investments since 2003. All of those investments in capital improvements, in improvements and enhancements to the patron experience at Soldier Field during Bears games have been done per the agreement that was established in 2003 that the Bears were a party to. And that's been done in collaboration. There is regular collaboration with the Bears, with ASM Global, who's our operator at Soldier Field. They work closely. The Bears have an office across from the ASM Global office in the building. So we were a little bit shocked, but, you know, ultimately we understand there's legal considerations that go into those types of letters.
I was just going to say, because the Bears have this penalty if they leave their lease early, $84 million or thereabouts. Is this a way to maybe wiggle out of that?
Well, I don't want to speak for their strategy, but we've seen similar letters when other teams have sought to, you know, get out of an agreement early. Ultimately, I think the Park District is very proud of the role that we've played in being the landlords of the Chicago Bears, of being stewards for Soldier Field. $73 million is a lot of money to invest, and we're very proud to have overseen those investments in collaboration with the Bears. We've been able to accomplish a lot with those dollars, and it's been a great relationship, and we look forward to continuing that relationship.
I know you want to continue. If they leave, is there a plan for Soldier Field afterward?
Well, Soldier Field is an iconic venue. It's a historic venue. I know that there are artists that are being born today that will have great concerts, just like Beyonce at Soldier Field. I have a newfound respect for Beyonce because she sells out that stadium, and that means not just a great experience along the lakefront. It means not just dollars going to our hotels and generating tax revenue through the hotel taxes, but it also means revenue for the Chicago Park District. And so every single person that bought a ticket to the Beyonce concert tonight is supporting programming for our kids.
All right, speaking of that programming, pools, beaches, you got enough lifeguards, or all the pools, all the beaches going to open on time?
So things are looking really good. Obviously, we're still training lifeguards, and we're going to make sure that we are training everyone that we need to train to be able to open up our beaches. We have a season from May 23rd through September 1st, 7 days a week for our beaches, all 23 of them. From 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. is when they're staffed by lifeguards. Our Park District marketing team, you probably have seen ads all across the city of Chicago saying we're hiring lifeguards. We increased pay for lifeguards. So things are looking really good. Things are looking on track to be able to open up 7 days a week, but we'll know more as soon as we're done prepping the current lifeguards that are part of this crop.
Can't wait to see those pools and beaches packed. Carlos Ramirez-Rosa, thanks for speaking with us.
Absolutely.
And when we come back, the U Chicago Crime Lab says we might have to rethink what causes gun violence in America. Back in a second.